Alright folks, I thought I would do a quick video just showing my subrack system and the cards that I've built to go in it. The idea of this is, if you have things like Raspberry Pis, there's no point in building a full 1U rack case for each of them because they're so tiny. So you can wick them all in a 3U bay like this, and you can get, I think it's like 12 or 15 of those cards will fit in this unit. And then you already have the power supplies and you can wick them in and out as you need. But anyway, so we have 2 power supplies in each crate. These each supply 3 rails, so you have +5, plus and -15 on each of them, and then these are paralleled together. So for example, if I pull the power out of one of them, like so, you can see everything keeps going. The way the power is transmitted across from these, I'll maybe show you around the back in a wee second, is I have a ribbon cable that runs across the back, and that connects all the cards together, and that gives your 3 voltage rails, and it also gives something that I have called frame bus, which I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be yet because I haven't had a need to use that, but it's probably going to be I2C, and then you can have a master controller card that can control slaves. So these 3, as you can see, these are Raspberry Pis. 2 of them are Pi 3s and one of them's a Pi 4. So these are just custom front panels that I had made as circuit boards. And you can see the sorts of things that they're used for. These are for my TV playout system that I'm working on at the moment. And TV head end is a satellite receiver. This one that's just sort of sitting here not doing much at the moment, that's actually a teletext inserter board with bodges. So there's going to be a bunch of those appearing shortly. And then the other thing is that because a Euro rack is a standard size, you can actually get off-the-shelf units that will go in this. Now obviously these don't have the same connector on them, so they don't have the ribbon cable for power, but it's really handy that you can just slide them in there and do whatever you need to do with them. I'll go across now to the one in the attic, and I'll show you some of the other cards that's in this system. So up at the attic subrack unit, you'll see we have a lot more cards up here. This one is a teletext inserter board again. This is the one that's actually running the main TV channel, and there are 4 pages from CFAX at the moment. Now it's actually an earlier design, so it's a prototype board and it has bits glued on and stuff, so it's really not quite as nice as the rest of them, but it's working away there and it does an excellent job. These 2 are playout cards, so one of them produces the music track for pages from CFAX. The other produces the video for the main TV channel. This is a crosspoint switch, so that takes 2 video inputs and gives you 2 video outputs, and it will detect if one of them goes missing and switch the main output to whichever one has syncs at the moment, or at the moment it defaults to number 1 when both of them are available. But that behaviour can be customised if you wanted it to switch to the last available or whatever, that kind of thing. And then these 4 cards are all video DAs, so they take video in on the back and they have a loop through, and then they also amplify it and give you 2 isolated clean video outputs, and they also have, as you can see, a sync detection, so if your video goes missing, as in this case, you can see it. So I don't want to take any of these cards out because they're sort of doing things at the moment, but we'll go now to the bench and have a look at some of the cards there in detail. Oh, before we go round to the bench, this is what the back of the rack looks like. I'm sorry, it's a real mess in here, but anyway, you can see the coloured ribbon cable running along the bottom there. That's what's providing power to each of the cards. And you can also see all the BNCs for the video inputs and outputs and things, and some of the other, there's D types over there that are doing audio out of the playout cards and things like that. So, but now we'll go and have a look at some of the cards in detail. So please excuse the rack that my bench is in, but I was in the middle of doing something before I decided to constructively procrastinate and film YouTube videos instead. This is what the DA card looks like, or at least this is one that's sort of halfway through being built. This is actually the second revision of this board. You'll see the ones that were in the attic rack didn't have an input, or sorry, an output on the front, whereas this one could have. It's an option, if you know what I mean, although I haven't actually fitted it on this one, as you can see. But this is sort of the idea. So we just have, I think that's an LM7171 apparently, that's doing the amplification, and then we have the plus and minus 5 volts are being produced from the plus and minus 15 volt rails, obviously, and we have the sync detect circuit uses an LM1881 to make pulses, and then this HC123 is basically detecting if those pulses go missing. So that's what a DA card looks like. Again, not one that's completely built, but you get the idea. This one is what one of the crosspoint cards looks like. Again, only partly constructed, but you get the idea. We have our holes for the LEDs here. We actually have two LM1881s that are doing the sync pulses, and then that goes into the two channels of the HC123. And we have a microcontroller that's doing the actual switching, and this is one card that I think it uses frame bus, or it could use frame bus. So we'll see how that works out in future. One that I'm particularly pleased with is this, which is the Raspberry Pi Playout card, or AV card as I've called it here, and this is a Pi Zero mounted to the board, and I've just brought the video straight out onto a nice BNC, but I've also got a nice high quality audio DAC here that takes I2S from the Pi and produces, as you can see, it produces analog audio, and then that goes into two NE5532s to produce balanced broadcast quality audio, and that we throw out on a D-type. This one is more or less completed, it just needs its LEDs and a couple of fuses. As you can see, I'm in the middle of building a bunch of these. Probably one that would be most useful to people other than me, though, is the generic Raspberry Pi Subrack card. So, as you can see, this looks pretty empty at the moment, but the idea is that if you have a Pi, it can be slotted on here, upside down, and the reason it's upside down is to keep the height nice and low, so the connectors all face out the front this way. I have some very tight right-angled HDMI connectors that will go in here and on a ribbon cable, so you can bring them out the back if you need HDMI for something. But then I've also broken out all the GPIOs here so that you can mount hats on here. Let me see if I have one to demonstrate. So here is a hat. This is actually another thing that I designed myself, but anyway, we'll not go into all that. So as you can see, the idea is that will just clip on there, and I haven't bothered to undo the screws obviously, but you get the idea. That'll sit in there, and assuming the connectors face the right direction. Now the only problem is that you'll have spotted right away is how is that going to fit with a card next to it? And obviously, you know, there's gonna have to be some budging done. Like for example, with these inserter boards, if I was going to use it like this, I would probably mount the video connector on the underside so that it faces down in there in the gap, and that would be enough that would probably fit down. You know, but the problem is there are cards that have connectors facing out this side, and that's definitely not going to work with this design because that's where the top of the bay is. But you get the idea. Like, it is pretty flexible. The satellite receiver card, for example, it actually has a board glued on and then USBs connected on and stuff. So it's very flexible and you can do lots of things with this system. And I'm quite pleased with it, and you'll probably see more boards as I design more things to do different bits and pieces over time. So I hope you found that interesting.